basketball. Tony Bennett reminding us before the game, these two crossed paths a number of times long before they became head coaches. Tonight, their teams battle it out to begin the new season. It is underway. Virginia wins the tip, and the Hoos will have first crack at it. In Beekman's hands, fittingly enough, initially. And there is that movement you've come to expect from Virginia on the opening possession of the year. Beekman kicks, done for three, and it'll round out. Virginia strikes first.
And that's a fitting way to start the season if you're UVA. A lot of ball movement to start that possession. Wasn't stagnant. They ran their stuff, come around the curls. The help was there. Kick it out to your open shooter for Dunn.
There is that trio, right? Beekman, Dunn, McNeely. They saw time even if it was limited a year ago. Let's take a look at the Virginia lineup in full as we get our first whistle of the contest as Dunn picks up a foul to go alongside of that bucket. And you're going to see, as we said, players that have had roles for Virginia that are going to be expanded here in the new campaign.
Absolutely. I think Ryan Dunn is the pure example of that. He's going to have a big impact on defense, but also on offense. Like we saw, a big wingman, has an NBA-sized body, and he's going to be looking to shoot that ball and be able to get to the hoop at will as well.
Ja'Cory Smith to the line, knocks down the first point of the year for Tarleton State. He exploded into their lone exhibition against Howard Payne, an all Lone Star State battle. Really led that team to the charges. They would score over 100 points and cruise toward victory in the exhibition portion of the season. He really was the catalyst. Goes to the line here, and will try to even things up if he makes all three. Rebound Virginia. And here is the UVA starting five. Alongside Dunn, McNeely, and Beekman, who we discussed, Rhodey, and of course Groves, the transfer from Oklahoma. So many transfers we'll be discussing throughout the night, Ty, that will be key this year.
Absolutely, and in this season, as we see another three-pointer up and good. This time is Andrew Rhodey getting it on the fun, knocking down that three-point shot from up top.
Speaking of transfers, the St. Thomas transfer involved, and here's the familiar face. Beekman slams it home.
So what I love about these first three possessions by UVA, three different players get a touch, they get out, they get to run, and they're running their set so well. The defense has been aggressive, which they pride themselves on, and it's helped them get out to this 8-2 score.
Well, we were told by Coach Bennett this week that it was a slow-starting Virginia team in their two exhibitions. Off to a quick start here. He said the second half was so much better. They're getting off to a very good start here in the one that counts, the one that matters most. There's a first bucket from the field for Tarleton State. As a layup is good. And you're going to see a whole lot more Gaddy along the way today, no doubt. We'll look at the full lineup for Tarleton in just a moment. Virginia's possession has the first 2 minutes behind us and an 8-4 start for UVA. McNeely tries a three.
Wow.
True.
And McNeely, he is the definition of a shooter. That is what he's out there for on the floor. Catch and shoot the basketball. And Coach, he actually wants him to demand the basketball and get those shots more.
Shot right at 40% a year ago from beyond the arc. Off to a solid start thus far. This is going to rattle off the back of the rim. Shot followed nicely, and that putback will go down for Ja'Cory Smith. He's an impressive player.
He is, and I like how Tarleton State is getting after it early. They're going after those 50-50 balls. When a shot goes up, they're not staying stagnant. Feet aren't still, looking to get those second chance opportunities and putbacks.
Ja'Cory Smith averaged right at 10 per game a season ago. They look for him to elevate his role in his senior season. That's going to be top of the backboard and out to Tarleton State. Here's another look at that McNeely three, and let's take a look at how it transpired.
Well, it was the ball movement. It first starts with the attack on the baseline and then the extra pass to your shooter. And we've seen a lot of great ball movement in the first couple possessions of this game by UVA. Just real unselfish.
And a takeaway by Beekman underneath. More of just what you called for here, Ty, and another chance for McNeely off it. And he capitalizes again.
Well, the mistake that Tarleton State made on that one, Lou Williams, he can't even go and try to help in the middle just a little bit off of a shooter like McNeely. He's always ready to catch and shoot with his hands up, and he knocks down his second triple of this ball game.
Backing Groves down to the bucket and laying home another bucket is Gaddy. Gaddy with the first couple of his buckets of the night.
Well, where UVA is having some trouble is their defense is meant to keep the ball out of the middle, and Tarleton State has been able to get in there. But another person able to get into the middle on that one is Beekman with the score. Just an easy drive to the hoop.
It's like he heard you. Right down the lane goes Beekman. And Virginia's lead now doubling up Tarleton State. Drive to the bucket and a whistle underneath and a foul call. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. Quick start for UVA as they lead 16-8. Think about the stability that the likes of Kihei Clark provided, and he wasn't alone, Ty. All of the points, all of the minutes represented on your screen must now be replaced by Tony Bennett's crew.
Yes, and so far they're doing a great job, right? Up 16-8 in their season opener, but they rebuilt their team through the transfer portal, added 4 players, and Harris, Rose, Minor, and Rhodey, and you know, they're doing a great job so far with those key departures.
We're looking at 4 of the 5 starters, up over 70% of the production from a year ago. And that was after returning almost 90% of the point production the year before. So these are uncharted waters to some degree. But Coach Bennett talking about how he has seen these players grow up before his very eyes. Obviously, you look at this edition of the roster, and the unquestioned leader is Beekman. As we discussed, you got the other 2 players who've already been key factors in this one, who saw time a year ago, and it really is then about who is going to step up and fill those shoes.
Absolutely, and I think a positive thing that we see here, right, with the college basketball landscapes, they come and they go. There's always going to have to be people that step up, and we see Coach was not shy to sub in some new guys, as we see on the floor right now in Bonds. We also get a first look at Buchanan.
And you're talking freshman now. He is the premier freshman out of this group who provides Virginia some of that size that departed in what you saw earlier. And he'll take a shot, but the rebound with a fresh clock for Virginia. McNeely getting ready to attempt to knock one down. Here's Beekman wide open. His shot will rim out, and it is eventually cleaned the boards by Gaddy once more.
All good looks on that possession by UVA, but what I would have liked to see was some dribble penetration. Obviously, they're knocking down a 3 before that possession. They were 4 for 5 from deep, but they're best when they get into the paint and they can kick out and find their shooters.
McNeely. Good start for UVA, as we said. We talked about those as on cue. He pulls down this board and kicks it out to Beekman. You mentioned the transfers, Ty. They're going to be critical. Rhodey, who we've already seen from St. Thomas, the transfer. Harris from Georgetown. Graves out of Oklahoma, and the Merrimack transfer as well in Minor. All will be a factor, and here's a blocking foul as it gets physical. Well, one thing doesn't change, even if the names on the back of the jersey do, right? The physical nature with which this team plays basketball.
For sure. We see them getting after it early in every aspect of this game. Going up there again is Leon Bond. He fell kind of hard there, but they're gritty, and they're going to get after it. And when you play in a conference like the ACC, you have to be that way by nature.
Foul going to be whistled on Smith. That's his first, and it's going to take Bond to the line and knock down his point, his first. Think about the job he did in the scrimmage, the blue-white scrimmage. They talk about just how important it was to get him going. Really was phenomenal in that contest, and they look for a player with a very high ceiling to emerge this year as well.
A high ceiling and also a high motor. We see the way that he gets into the paint and he can jump out the gym, and going to keep the guys on their toes with the way he's so active, and he seems to be a young guy, right, but very vocal already.
Pressure being provided up top. It's Rhodey, and he is right there with the Tarleton State shooter coming down the other end of the floor. Here's Virginia.
Now, I'm not mad at that shot by Lou Williams as McNeely open. I thought he was about to let that one fly because they got a paint touch and they were able to get a shot up.
Speaking of open, you can't be more so than Leon Bond III was right there. Yes, they talk about his slashing ability, how he can get to the hoop, but a shot like that, he'll knock down as well.
That's just all about reading the defense and knowing that I don't have to press to try to get into the paint. Nice little baby jump shot on that baseline area is money.
Six to shoot for Tarleton State. Virginia thinking perhaps they had forced a turnover, trying to sell it, but the officials not buying. Our officiating crew, by the way, in this one, Tony Henderson, Adam Flore, and they are joined by Anthony Eads, the trio responsible for things between Virginia and Tarleton State on this quick start.
I think Dante Harris thought the hug to the ref was going to change the call there.
Stays with the crew in purple. And eventually gathered up by Rhodey. Talk about what a passer he is, how well he moves with the basketball. His time at St. Thomas. For a tremendous freshman season, the mid-major, and what a complete offensive player he can be. Loses the handle here, and Tarleton in transition. Laid home as there's a basket for Benjamin.
And that was nice, just simple transition. Didn't try to do anything flashy or fancy, just enough to get themselves on the board. And they're still in striking distance, and they're doing a good job, I think, defensively to try to hold off Virginia. They don't have the same size as Virginia, but being disciplined is what's going to help them on their defensive sets.
All right, really elevating, but contact with the body results in a whistle. As Gaddy went up and thought perhaps he had secured it cleanly.
Nearly. He led the team in blocks last season, so you know he's the guy who's going to go for it, and he wasn't afraid to go at him. Meets him at the rim, but based off of this, yeah, we see gets him on the arm just a little bit right there, enough for the refs to call it.
It's going to send Buchanan to the line. Will this be the first of Buchanan's points in a Virginia uniform? Not going to come on the initial free throw, but another one coming for the youngster. Remember, tonight at 9 Eastern, number 2 Duke hosts Dartmouth. We'll wrap up the night with the Nothing But Net crew in Durham. What a way to tip off the season, the ACC season, particularly on the ACC network and the ESPN app. And there it is, Buchanan in the scorebook as a Virginia Cavalier, and boy, do they expect major things from this, the leader in many ways of a talented freshman group.
Yeah, we spoke to Coach before the game, and he spoke very highly of him, just saying he's ahead of most of the freshmen right now, and out of Idaho doing his thing so far in this game, rebounding the basketball and just trying to be assertive, not overdoing it.
Well, one thing he'll learn how to do, kick it out to Reece Beekman. The now
for sure.
floor general, expanded role here in the new season, handling it well thus far to the tune of a 10-point Virginia lead. Though that is lost out and will send us to immediate timeout. Virginia leading Tarleton State. The crew out of Stephenville, Texas, a town of around 20,000, just southwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in the Lone Star State. Self-described cowboy capital of the world.
I mean, I love it, and we've seen them so far. They've been getting after it like some Cowboys, only down by 11 in this game, but about Tarleton State, they play their opponents pretty close. A fact about them, they've never trailed by 9 at the half against a Power 5 school. And that list of opponents include Kansas, Michigan, Gonzaga, Baylor, so they're tough.
Changed here today in terms of trailing by this much, double digits. First time that had happened with a team Billy Gillespie regularly takes on the road. How about this slice to the bucket? And the finish is true. Laid home by Murray.
We like that early on that they have a tough schedule this season. They'll be starting their conference schedule earlier than normal, November 29th. And so you want to get out and play against the opponents like that of a UVA.
Looks like that caught Harris up around the face, and the result is an offensive foul. It'll be Virginia's basketball.
And the backdoor pass right there is just right on the money. Beekman is doing a great job of facilitating the basketball. And when we say he is preseason all-ACC first team, it's because of his ability to do things like that.
The New Zealander, Tane Murray, with the bucket to finish things. They're going to take another look at this foul. You saw it. It caught Harris. It looked like in the face. The foul called immediately, but this is going to be our first review of the night.
Well, from first glance at it, if it was a elbow and it was too high, you see Harris is over there, potentially got a runny nose from it, or I don't think he's quite bleeding.
Been a tough start for Harris. Remember, he did not play in the second of the scrimmages, had an aggravated shoulder after performing really well in the initial scrimmage against the reigning national champions UConn right here at JPJ. Didn't play in the Maryland scrimmage, and it looks like the start of the year getting a little tougher here.
Yeah, I think for him, it's just all about getting his footing back. When he's a quick guy, he hasn't played at this pace, getting up and down. And then he's also playing off the ball. At Georgetown, he was the primary ball handler. So just learning and coming into his new role, it may take some time. And I think, again, playing against a team like Tarleton in your first game of the season is going to be the catalyst for getting your feet up under you. So we'll see if he can come along more in this game.
Yeah, he ends up with...
yeah, he actually is bleeding, I believe.
The training staff having to really do some work on him here. And it appears as if our officials have finished reviewing the play, and now they'll discuss the ultimate determination.
I think on that swing through, it might be upgraded just because his arms went above his shoulders to try to clear space with Harris. And when you play a gritty defense,
offensive foul at the determination of our officials. So it will be Virginia set to inbound the basketball, and the review provided Harris enough time that all the work was completed, and he's ready to go. It'll be in his hands as Virginia goes back to work.
Yeah, he's tough.
Again, they believe he's going to be completely okay after having to miss that second scrimmage, and that's good news for Virginia. So much experience at Georgetown that they hope translates to here in Charlottesville. And it's going to be a touch foul out top. That's going to be against Boo Boo Benjamin. And though it's his first, it is a fourth against the Texans.
Well, with all the early threes that UVA made, Tarleton State is really playing up pressure defense on the catch. They're looking to crowd their space and almost seemingly trying to run UVA off the three-point line.
Now, you thought that may be a weapon that Tarleton State would try to use. 15 of their first 25 points in that scrimmage at home at historic Wisdom Gym came from beyond the arc. Thought maybe they would need that. Virginia at times susceptible to that. Shoe's been on the other foot, and then they're getting contributions from everyone, including Bond III, who lays another home just ahead of the horn.
I think it's been tough for Tarleton State to really consistently find their rhythm because, again, look at how the defense is hounding them. And then it's a lot of east-west. You got to go north-south, try to get into that paint and score. And that's a good one right there where you get the ball on the inside and you try to operate. That was...
Foul called on Buchanan, looks like on the inside, as Tony Henderson whistled him for his first foul. Bond goes out. And we also have a Tarleton State substitution as Emmanuel Innocenti, an Italian, works his way into the contest, one of the international players on these rosters. Again, roster of 21. There's a number of them to keep up with for Tarleton State. And then you talk about the 16 newcomers. The one thing that somewhat gets lost is Harris is now whistled for a foul up top. A couple of quick ones picked up by UVA all of a sudden. One thing you do notice, though, a lot of seniors, a lot of experienced players for Tarleton State.
Well, with that, because they have a lot of players who've come from JUCOs, community college, and that is, you know, in the mid-major level, how you kind of want to build your team. You're not always going to be able to put freshmen into the game, but if you have somebody with some junior college experience under their belt, you've played at the collegiate level with the physicality in which you're going to go up against.
Well, you see that physicality is hanging with the play is Ja'Cory Smith. Now, he's eventually going to be whistled for the foul, and it will be Virginia basketball, but relentless in his desire to get it back at just inside the 10-minute mark.
And Tarleton State, they're switching to put on some full court pressure now, where just a little light pressure, though. Make some time run off the clock for UVA.
There's Thomas working on Harris. Beekman flashing all the way to the far side. will be in his hands. But they have located Reece Beekman. Number of purple jerseys collapse on him. Just 2 to shoot. Virginia will not get a shot up.
That was great defense by Tarleton State. Everybody was moving on the flight of the ball, and now they just have to find some offensive rhythm. I think their defense has been solid for the most part, except for giving up some second chance opportunities on the boards, but that's going to be given when UVA just has that size advantage.
And here's one of those possessions that UVA is going to work it into single digits on the shot clock defensively. And with 4 to shoot, still trying to clean it up down there, and eventually throwing it away. Backcourt, it'll belong to Virginia. One of the questions coming in was Virginia's length. You know, maybe not the size you're used to seeing for Virginia. And obviously when you hit the ACC, it'll be a different animal as they get their sea legs underneath them during the non-conference. But you are seeing Virginia close the passing lanes very quickly here in this one.
Yeah, they're running and trapping. One of their defensive principles is when that ball goes into the painted area, they're sending 2 over automatically, and they're showing their hands. They're trying to refrain from fouling, and I think they've done a magnificent job of just moving on the flight of the ball as well, and like you said, showing off their length and cutting things off, not letting Tarleton State get super comfortable.
Harris lost the handle momentarily, but still with it. 7 for UVA to shoot. Seems to be a comfort level with that for Virginia, however. Buchanan tries to get something up just ahead of the horn, but it is rejected. 2 defensive-focused teams, you know, that has been the foundation. It has been the pillar of Virginia's success under Tony Bennett for the last 15 years.
Yeah, and they take pride in as Beekman nearly comes up with the steal. And when talking to Coach pregame, I asked him about his defense and our guys able to, you know, you have so many newcomers. Are you getting those principles and stuff down? And he was like, defense is defense at the end of the day. It's not super hard to learn, but it's more about being first to those passes. And so that's why you see that they're able to get into those gaps as quickly as they do, because they're not really priding themselves on trying to get every steal, but it's about being in the right place at the right time.
Helps that you have the Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC on your side, right? He continues to provide ball pressure up top.
His anticipation is just great.
Pretty good scorer, too. Shoots for the hoop here, slices through the lane, but doesn't quite get it to fall off the front of the rim. Step back, that's closed up.
Tarleton State, they haven't been able to run, and that's because on the missed shot, UVA already has 2 people back into the paint, and so it's stopping them from having a transition game going. They're having to run their sets. Shot clock is getting low, and they haven't been able to get anything off.
Well, it's at 4 again, to your point. Eventually going to rattle out, and it appears as if Dunn is going to get a hand on it. He'll work it off of a Tarleton State defender. Timeout on the floor. Virginia out front 25-11.
Being an NFL fan is the greatest. Unless you're home.
And he's able to be that 2-way player that you will want on your team. ACC Defensive Player of the Year, who can really break up plays and gets his team going by his ability to jump those passing lanes and get out and run. And we've seen it here tonight already, where he's been able to be that perimeter defender, but also run the squad.
Major lift for Virginia that he decided to return. He was projected to be a second rounder in the NBA draft. Believes by coming back, certainly with his defensive ability, you're looking at a first-round pick moving forward. He said, I want to get better as an individual and as a basketball player. I'm coming back to Virginia because I believe we can do great things again this year. Well, bearing itself out in the opener thus far.
For sure, and the growth and development, I think at the next level, a team always wants a great defender, but as I spoke about in the open, continuing to polish his scoring abilities as well is going to be key.
And Virginia always seems to have a great defender. He's the latest in a long line of those Defensive Players of the Year in the ACC. You think about the way Dunn has played defense. Those two really the 2 on the squad that have that high ceiling in the NBA conversation because of their ability to play such solid defense. That goes everywhere but down for Tarleton State, and McNeely the rebound.
That's a great look, though, by Lou Williams. He was wide open in the corner, spot up, and let it fly. And Tarleton State, they have yet to make a 3-point shot in this game. Now, they haven't taken a ton of them, but when you get the opportunity to have no one in your face, those big defenders by UVA, you got to knock it down.
Isn't it amazing? As is this work. Down the left side of the lane for Harris. For everything done so far, his first bucket of the night, it's a memorable one.
I like it, a little finesse to his game, up and under, and comparable to when he was at Georgetown, people would say his game was something like Allen Iverson. You can see it in his quickness and his speed and the way he's able to manipulate you to get to the basket and score.
And that's a term they continue to use in talking about him, quickness. And it's when he decides to find that extra gear and contact from Dunn out top.
Well, what I've liked so far is he hasn't pressed. You see, he gets by these two defenders. Boo-Boo, he doesn't commit all the way, and he's able to sort of force his body through that up and under and just finish around the basket seamlessly.
Second personal foul whistled on Dunn, and he will take a seat, not alone. You see a breather coming for Ja'Cory Smith on the Tarleton State side of things. Just the 5th team foul against Virginia. There it is. You called for it. The first 3 ball of the night finally drained for Tarleton State, and it is Innocenti who gets it done.
Well, he made the contested 3. Now you make some wide open ones, and you have yourself a ball game here.
Go back to that point. 15 of their first 25 points in the most recent contest, that Howard Payne exhibition, came from beyond the arc. Somewhat surprising that it's taken this long. 5:39 to go in the first half for Tarleton State to knock down the first in this game.
Well, with the game of basketball, sometimes you just got to see that first one go in. Wouldn't be surprised if a couple other go up now and they just start falling.
Beekman returns for Harris. That foul on Musa, that's a first, but it sends McNeely to the line. First personal, that is, of course, on Musa. And the initial shot goes down for McNeely. The ACC Fall Championships continue on Wednesday night, semifinal round. All matches right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app, the home of ACC Championships. McNeely true on both free throws. And McNeely pushing toward 10 points. He has 8 to lead all scorers on the Virginia side thus far.
Well, in an article that I read on UVA's website written by Jeff White, he just spoke about McNeely and how coach has been demanding him to take shots. It was times last year where he would get into the game and minutes were limited, right? But his impact went far when he was ready to catch and shoot and be a person that wanted the basketball. And he said this season he wanted to improve on his handle, but with improving on your handle, you got to be confident in that shooting ability that he's gifted to have.
Had 12 off the bench in the NCAA tournament contest against Furman. Of course, that was that 4-13 loss. Virginia has some experience with that, right? Furman out of the Southern Conference. A little more purple out there. Maybe not what you want to see right now.
For sure.
If you're a Virginia fan. But they do have experience with that. You think about it, that early exit in 18, and Virginia came back in 2019, won that national championship. The premier moment coming against a team from Texas, Texas Tech, and coming after some of that NCAA heartbreak like they experienced at the end of things. But he was one of the bright spots in that final game of the year a season ago.
Correct, and coming back, I know you can feel that pain all summer long. That's probably the loss that lingered in their head, and as a player, you never want to feel that type of hurt again.
Virginia used it as a motivator for that unbelievable run and the 19 championship, and they have the roadmap, certainly, for the type turnaround, the type redemption season that the college basketball, really the best one college basketball had ever seen when you talk about what they experienced from one year to the next to head to the top of the hill and be the longest serving champion of all time, right? We had the pandemic, clear out the tournament the next year, and Virginia just remained the champ for a while. Trying to rebuild that championship pedigree with so many new faces, and on this opening night, showing the ability to score to the tune of nearly 30 on the board with inside 5 to go in this first. And, and a nice crowd tonight in behind this group, too. It speaks to what's been built here in Charlottesville.
I'm loving it. The student section is exciting. McNeely, another 3 up and good. It's all flowing here early on in this game, or late in this first half, I should say.
That'll get them a little more involved here at JPJ. Loving what they are seeing from McNeely. The first to double figures, give him 11. 3 of 5 from the field, and those 3 coming from beyond the arc.
Well, I love how his teammates are seeing where he's spotting up at, and every time a pass is made to him, he's ready on the catch.
Lost out, and it will head to the other end of the floor. Well, he's got 11, leading everybody. What a start to the new campaign for Isaac McKneely. Here is the latest three for the West Virginia native.
Being an NFL fan is the greatest. Unless you're
getting in on the action, 5 for 9 from deep. You have Rhodey knocking it down, done. But it's been all about Isaac McNeely, who is 3 for 5. His teammates are finding him. He's ready to catch and shoot the basketball, and it's been nothing but money from beyond the arc.
Yeah, perfect from the charity stripe and a couple of chances in the 3 of 5 start from downtown. Think about this. Virginia off to a red-hot 7 for 11 start from the field in full. And still, after cooling off a bit, shooting 55% in this first half. Contrast that with 31% from the floor for Tarleton State thus far, with just under 4 to play in the opening half of action. Here's McNeely. Takes it to the interior. That pass lost to Ja'Cory Smith.
Tarleton State doing a nice job knowing their personnel on that one. Okay, we can't let them get another one off, make them put the basketball on the ground, results in a turnover.
Couple of buckets for Ja'Cory Smith, couple of buckets for Gaddy, who's not in the personnel grouping right now. And as we say, those two are at the head of the stat sheet. He separates himself. Ja'Cory Smith lays one home, matches his jersey number, and he's the leading scorer for the Texans.
Well, just late on the backside help was UVA on that possession. Reece Beekman got caught on the other side, and perfect read by Tarleton State to be able to score that one, but he makes up for it with the and one and going to be going to the free throw line.
Well, we talk so much about threes. Here comes one perhaps the old-fashioned way. Reece Beekman to the charity stripe.
However you can get it. And I like this. He puts the defender on his back and is able to scoot through 2 others down low for the and one. That is just a tough bucket by the experienced senior.
Beekman knocks it down. Nothing but the twine. He has 7. And trails only McNeely, who leads the squad, pacing Virginia with 11. 3 minutes remaining in the opening half. The Tarleton State team that Virginia has run well out in front of. A Tarleton State team used to keeping opponents close. Used to keeping big-time opponents close. You referenced it a little bit earlier, but this is a team hanging around against Power 5 competition in recent years in the first half, and not just any. Virginia tried for another 3-point play here. Instead, the foul will create a scoring chance from the line for Bond. But let's go into that just a little bit more. At number 3, Kansas, at 20th ranked Michigan, at number 3, Gonzaga, at 12th ranked Baylor, now here at Virginia. That's the environment that Coach Billy Gillespie's taken this team into. Before tonight, they had never trailed by double digits in a first half. No deficit more than 9. They led A&M, Stanford, BC, and Arizona State at the half, including Stanford and Arizona State in the last 2 season openers. So this was a team that expected to come in here and hang around. And Virginia has had its way for the most part in this first half with Tarleton State. Impressive for UVA.
Well, it's all about them coming in here, and they didn't underestimate Tarleton State. They said, we're going to put our foot on the gas early, and it's shown in this first half. And Tarleton State has played an ACC opponent in Boston College and was actually able to defeat them a season ago. So they're not shy to this level of competition, but right now they haven't been able to find a rhythm, and you have to credit UVA because they have made them so uncomfortable on the offensive end of the floor. And then when UVA has the basketball, they've been able to find their teammates again, going back to that 3-point shooting and knocking down those open shots.
And a great point, and so important that they got off to the quick start. That 7 of 11 start from the field for Virginia, really setting the tone, calming everybody in the building because basketball's back, and sending a message to Tarleton State as well.
It did, and Virginia, they went on their scoring drought a little bit. They went a little over 2 minutes and 30 seconds without scoring the basketball, but when you're playing this type of hounding of defense, just look at them all over the floor. The double team doesn't come on that one, but Minor able to force the travel. There's no way that you can really set in and get comfortable, especially in this environment where it's packed out tonight.
And not of great concern because of the way they play defense when you see those droughts, and Virginia showing you why, as the lead is held fairly steady. Still up 37-17 as Beekman brings it up the floor. Closing in on 2 minutes remaining in the opening half. Season opener. around the land, and certainly here for UVA tonight. Nice cut, and Minor couldn't quite finish, but guess who's there? Bond the third lays it back in. Leon Bond the third with one of his more recent moments in this half.
Well, he got the crowd going with that one. He's just as athletic as he wants to be, sticks with the play, and is able to get that one to go down with ease.
Well, and showed his elevation on that last sequence as well. Trying to run out with it is Harris, but whistles going to bring this to a halt.
Well, Minor, the back door, that was ran to perfection, but nobody puts a body on Bond the third. That's okay, put back by him. And I also love, he's another guy who draws a comparison to a former UVA standout, Justin Anderson, and you can see it with how agile he is, his athleticism, but also they say his personality is one of a kind as well, and he's had a good showing in this first game.
Yeah, and look for it. They talk about how he's been working on a fall-away jumper that's pretty nice as well, in addition to his ability to slash to the basket. You saw elevation on that last image from Bond the third. It's going to be a foul as Beekman tried to work his way a little closer to the bucket. That's a second personal on Miles, but double digits now on Tarleton State as a unit. And Beekman is back to the line, trying to add to his 7-point total in this first half. True on the first as it rattles down. Well, Saturday morning, the ACC Huddle crew going to kick off the day at 11 Eastern. 60-minute pregame show leading to BC hosting Virginia Tech. That's at noon. They'll also have halftime shows, pre- and post-game shows throughout the day. After the game, stick around. Complete wrap-up and interviews, all part of the ACC Huddle this coming Saturday. Inside the final minute of the opening half of the year, and scrambling for it, that's on the sideline, and will be Virginia basketball.
And Virginia here, I don't know if they practice it too much, but opportunity for a 2-for-1. Some college teams do it, some colleges don't, but it seems as though they're just going to get into their set and try to get the best shot as possible, but opportunity to really run their stuff and try to look for an opening.
Harris, little stop pop, and he will draw contact. Disbelief from Gaddy, who was whistled for the foul, and that is going to be a second personal on Gaddy. And again, maximum opportunity for Virginia from this point forward. They raise their hands inside John Paul Jones Arena for Dante Harris, whose first rim's out. Virginia working their way to the line regularly in this first half. Cavaliers 10 of 12. And of course, Harris will see this one rim out as well, but that's opposite just the 7 free throws that have been shot for Tarleton State. More made for Virginia than shot for the opponent. That always serves you well. Just a little too strong from Benjamin. And with the shot clock off, Beekman going to slow it. As he was anointed in many ways, Phil General, all on his shoulders now. You know, he's always played alongside, as we talked about, Kihei Clark. You've seen his ability to bring the ball up the floor and control it. His team now. And on this final possession of the half, he slices through and puts the exclamation point on the opening half of basketball. 43 on the scoreboard for Virginia. Coaching staff as well, plus 10 advantage in bench points, and 15 of Virginia's points coming of that variety. Tarleton basketball to begin the second half. Having made the trip to Central Virginia out of Stephenville, Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, just outside of it, about an hour or so southwest of Fort Worth, rural Texas, cowboy country. And here are the Texans working through on the opening possession. That rattles around after a missed layup. Going to be kicked out for a 3-ball. It won't go, and it's Virginia's as Reece Beekman cleans it up.
2 good looks by Tarleton State on that possession, able to get into the paint, but
more of the same from McNeely. Picks up right where he left off to begin the second half.
None other than him. He has such a pure stroke, getting the ball, quick release. It's hard to close out on him because as soon as the ball touches his fingertips, it's up.
Well, there's a little individual competition going on here, right? This Virginia team talks so much about what you do collectively As a unit, you accomplish great things, and then that creates individual opportunities. That's something that Tony Bennett certainly preaches a lot along the way. But Beekman had the final bucket of the half to even him at 11 apiece, and he comes right out here to begin the second half of action and reclaims the lead on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I'll take that, is what McNeely said on that three-point shot. And you have to credit his teammates, too, for knowing where the hot hand is and finding him able to hit his 4th triple of this game with ease.
Saw Tony Bennett there, 15 years in now, is at Virginia. Well, Izzy Miles able to knock one down right at the horn. Virginia going to take you to the extent of that shot clock, and using every second of it this time is Tarleton on the board in the second half behind Miles. Izzy Miles, for all the talk about the senior-laden squad Tarleton has, one of the youngsters that is expected to make a major difference for Coach Gillespie.
Freshman out of Alabama, and he's one of their top recruits that they've been able to get since being in the D1 era. And you saw how he was able to get up on that last play for the putback. He's a high flyer, real energetic guard, and expected to have some big numbers and big time with Tarleton State.
Wide open look for Williams that will not go from downtown. That was Lou Williams who fired away on that 3 for Tarleton. Yeah, easy to forget. Quickly it goes inside. Here's a whistle. Easy to forget that this is a Tarleton State team that is making the transition. I mean, in the last 20 years, they've gone from NAIA to Division II, where they had great success, and this man, Billy Gillespie, was brought in to lead the transition to the Division I ranks in the WAC.
And it's not an easy thing to do, seeing that you don't get the postseason experience when you are going from your transition from Division II to Division I. They just got their first postseason invitation last year to the CBI, and they accepted it. So a lot in store for this Tarleton State team, and a lot in store for the Wahoos.
Regardless of who the ball ends up in the hands of, more ball movement for Virginia that creates a scoring opportunity for Groves, and he knocks down a tray.
And Groves, we go back to the talk about comparisons, right? Another guy who was compared to Sam Hauser, plays for the Celtics now, spent some time in the G League with the Maine Red Claws, who can absolutely fill it up and shoot that basketball, and we saw that on that last possession.
Benjamin answers it on the other end of the floor. He knocks down a 3. Well, we got a brief pause here. As the previous play is going to be looked in again. So we're told they're looking at something off the ball, Ty, which could potentially be a flagrant foul. So potential flagrant being looked at off the ball by our officials.
Well, I saw Gaddy crouching a little tripped up, and wonder if running through the lane he got chucked in a way that wasn't legal.
So on the backside of the 3s traded, one for Groves for Virginia, and here.
I don't think it's going to be anything there. If it has to do with Groves being on
we're given the full explanation. The official says it is just a common foul, but they were dealing with a little difficulty technically on the look is the reason it took them. He wanted to make sure we were aware just a little longer. It's not that they were looking at anything they felt was consequential. They knew right away once they secured the look, it was a common foul. To the delight of everyone, back to work we go. An inbound coming underneath the bucket. And out top, Miles with it. And enough disruption provided by Rhodey that the ball is lost out of bounds, and he'll handle the inbound pass for Virginia. You know, last trip down the floor for UVA, Jake Groves hit that three you were talking about him. Began his playing career at Eastern Washington before transferring to Oklahoma. At both stops, played with his brother. This is the first time not playing with his brother, but they expect he's able to come in because of that Big 12 experience. Something those in the Texas footprint know a lot about, that Big 12 experience. Because of that, they expect him to come in, really hit the ground running, and boy, has he ever already for Virginia.
Well, Coach said they had a need for a four-man like him, so they went out specifically and were searching for someone with his ability to knock down shots and to be able to stretch the floor. And we have to mention about Jake, when he was at Eastern Washington, he was a walk-on at first. He worked his way up in the ranks to be a starter here at UVA this evening. That's
a great point, Ty. What a journey it has been for him. You think about some of the individual journeys to this point for so many of these players. When you discuss all the new faces on both sides. Up to the wing and putting it on the floor. All kind of disruption from Beekman, but somehow maintaining control of the basketball is Williams, and he will be rewarded with the bucket and the foul call. He's going to the line to try to complete the and one. Those inside JPJ wearing the home colors had other thoughts on this.
Well, I think it's a great play by Tarleton State right there. Able to just find his way into the middle of the paint. Great things happen when teams are able to get into the middle of the paint against that UVA defense. And Lou Williams, the second leading scorer from this Texans team a season ago, is continuing to show his ability to try to find little seams and gaps for potential scoring opportunities.
And Lou Williams, the leading returner when it comes to scoring. You mentioned second on the team a year ago. Among those coming back to Stephenville, he had the high water mark in 2022-2023. Beekman, boy, the length makes a difference there to hang on to it for Rhodey. And it's going to be whistled against Virginia, so it will be Tarleton State basketball. You know, we were talking about it. Coach Gillespie hired in 2020, right in the middle of things. He was hired in March to lead the Division I transition. You know, his first head coaching stop was Texas El Paso, so he's very familiar with the Western Athletic Conference. Earned an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament in year 2. You may remember in that 2004 NCAA tournament, they had Maryland on the ropes, nearly had them beat when he was there. So it's somewhat of a homecoming for him. Not liking what he sees right in front of him here as Virginia takes away that possession from Tarleton State with the block.
Well, he's a great coach with a heap of experience, and I know he's going to have these guys in shape in no time. And what I've been most impressed about the Texans is, though that they're down, they have never seemed to be out as far as their aggressiveness and the way that they're playing with and trying for each other. A little mishap right there, but for the most part, defensively, they've been trying to really get after it.
Dunn takes a shot. That's going to be back of the rim. And here's that block from the youngster. We talk transfers so often. We've had the returners make their mark. Here's the freshman involved. It's his 64th birthday tomorrow. November 7th, 1959. He was born just a short drive from the campus of Tarleton. Of course, he started in the Western Athletic Conference with UTEP. You'll remember his stops at Texas A&M. It was that near win over Maryland that earned that Texas A&M job. Now back in the Texas A&M system. Of course, Kentucky, a stop along the way that many will remember in the early stages of his career. And after a season at Texas Tech, underwent that kidney transplant. Didn't know if he would ever coach again. But credits the new life he was given. The regeneration, the redemption story, something he talks about believing in, and a chance to come back and coach basketball right in the shadow of where he grew up, and believing he's going to be able to lead this Tarleton State team to heights unseen at the Division I level. It really has been quite a journey for Billy Gillespie.
He's done a great job thus far, and I can tell that he has a great spirit. My fellow Scorpio buddy over there, November 7th birthday. I'm November 12th. I got to chop it up with him a little bit before the game, and seems like just a great guy and a perfect fit. When you talk about teams, you have to be a fit for the players that's on your roster. And you can see him over there coaching them up and smiling, and that's what it all comes down to, and that is how he was able to earn this job at Tarleton State.
Well, Texas born and raised, and again, he played at nearby Grayford High School. He said, I always dreamed about playing maybe in Wisdom Gym, historic Wisdom Gym there at Tarleton State. Instead, he's coaching there, hopes to lead them to a few more big wins now in the Division I ranks, and it is the return to Division I for Billy Gillespie. His crew bringing it up the floor, still trailing Virginia 52-27 here, dipping inside 15 minutes to go. What have you noticed in the early stages of this second half?
They've been more aggressive trying to score. In this second half, Tarleton State and Virginia are knotted up at 8 points apiece. So they've been able to close that gap as far as them getting comfortable in their sets and trying to score. And their offense hasn't been as stagnant. They're putting the basketball on the ground and trying to get to the cup. Again, dribble penetration right here by Tarleton State. Comes back to that baseline side. Can't get it to fall, but I'm not mad at that possession. They kept the defense on their heels.
Dunn puts it on the floor. Comes right back his direction, just out of the reach of Smith as Beekman goes down the lane. He draws contact, but won't get the basket to fall.
Beekman might have got away with one right there. And when I say got away with one, it looked like he had a few little extra steps.
Keep an eye on the footwork.
Here, 1, 2, boom, jump stop. Okay. The jump stop, I think, sells it a little bit when he got into the lane to get it off. But at first, you know, with his quickness and his speed, that rip through on the initial, it looked like that extra glide was a travel. But nonetheless, again, I'm over here, they're over there.
Well, at the end of the day, Beekman to the line, and he knocks down another, and Beekman already working his way to the 15-point threshold in this one, and in doing so becomes the leading scorer for Virginia.
I've been really impressed with Beekman and his poise and the way he's been able to run the squad. A lot is expected of him to be a defender that is catty and up in your face the whole entire game. But then you also have to run the team on the other end of the floor too. He has to be in amazing shape for the role of this two-way player identity that he has.
Oh yeah, so much emphasis on the defense and how long it takes to kind of come into your own in the defensive system that is Virginia's trademark. You said it, Ty. He handles every bit of that business, and oh, by the way, is the floor general for UVA, making it look like he's done it all his life on a night like this.
He's not even hardly breaking a sweat out there.
It's going to be another whistled on Ja'Cory Smith. Now that's 3 on Smith, and the 16 foul on Tarleton in the second half.
Well, Ja'Cory Smith, he has to be smart here and know that he's needed on the floor and try to get the lob up there to Buchanan. I think that's a great read by McNeely on the slip for the big guy. But Ja'Cory Smith, you want him out there. Although the deficit is big, still you need him to get the reps and to also be smart, because he's going to be a key piece for the Texans throughout this whole season.
Well, if Smith is somewhat concerned with 3, here's Williams now, who just picked up his 4th. So 4 fouls on Williams.
Yeah, some foul trouble for the Texans here. Now, one thing we do know is, do they have a bench? Certainly, 16 newcomers, 21 total on that roster. So they have the subs, but you want your experienced guys to be able to play.
It is depth unlike you'll see elsewhere, and a big-time bounce back on the other end as Williams lays this home. You said it, plenty of places to go with it. I think you almost got to invest in name tags, right, at the start of the year. So many coming from so many different places, just the sheer numbers on the roster, and it speaks to the opportunities that are being given to so many of these Tarleton Texans to make their mark. Well, making his down the lane to just simply lay it home. It is another Virginia bucket by Dunn.
And Beekman, he had to give up the foul there because on the drive, Dunn, he's able to go by Smith and elevate, but oops, there goes the shoe on his way down. The Grinch that stole Christmas flies off and into the baseline, but heads up play by Beekman to give up that foul so his teammate could get his shoe back on.
Well, Buchanan going to be relieved now. As back into the game for Virginia, Leon Bond III. Remember, Bond III was closing in that first half on a potential try to make his way toward, already eclipsing the second half of 10 on the rebound side. He's got 6 of those. He's got 10 points already. A little bit of everything as another foul is picked up to send to the line on this occasion. Benjamin. Well, again, the freshman for Tarleton State. Here's another of them in Boo Boo Benjamin you've talked about a couple of times tonight.
I've liked what he's been able to show. He's been aggressive and been able to really show off some athleticism to get into the rim, and he's been able to impose his will on the defense best he can, and I think he has a bright future for the Texans.
And rattles up and down, touching every bit of the rim before falling for Benjamin, who has 8 in the contest. Just like that, Benjamin suddenly the leading scorer for this Tarleton State squad with his 8.
Well, it's definitely been by committee to try to put them in this game and able to come up with the steal there. Izzy Miles with the easy one in transition, and UVA, they got to tighten it up here.
Yeah, powering back is Miles. He has 6 in the contest.
Well, the Texans, they're putting on that full court pressure, and if anything, their pressure, it doesn't seem to me that they're looking to get turnovers. The turnovers are a plus, but trying to take some time off the clock, so by the time that UVA gets down there, it's less for them to operate in their sets.
And the Texans good on 5 of their last 7, including each of the last 3 attempted. And here's another rebound. Numbers are there for Tarleton State, and that's going to be pulled down by Benjamin again. So the run that Tarleton State was looking for to try to chip away at this Virginia lead mid-second half. Smith puts it on the looking for the and one here in just a moment to climb to an 8-0 run. The moment of the second half, Ty, and a 2-minute 18-second scoring drought for Virginia at the same time. Suddenly the Texans chipping away.
Well, they've been able to force 3 turnovers in this half on Virginia, and it's just been about them coming out with a mindset shift, I think, in that second half about we have to be who we are at all times. In the first half, they didn't show that. And I think right now, this run is just a catalyst of how they've been gritty and they've been able to really be on top of it defensively, and those defensive opportunities have led to offense.
Barnes completes the 3-point play, makes it an 8-0 run for Coach Gillespie and company. By the way, that whistle going to break, the 3rd personal foul picked up by McNeely, who takes his spot on the bench now. He's the only Virginia player in that situation with a 3rd foul. Nice back door. It's kicked back out to Groves, and he'll make it count.
That might be the highlight reel of, to me, almost the entire game because of the athleticism that Harris showed on that baseline cut. And I think maybe at Georgetown he would have tried to go for that up and under shot, but knowing that he had a shooter in Groves relocate to that wing who was ready to catch and knock it down, that could be the shot that gets Virginia back on track when we talk about offense.
And perhaps because of the moment, they needed something with Tarleton making that run, and Virginia gets it, but the bank open up top, and that comes home for Barnes as he knocks down the latest 3. How about that shot from Barnes? He is heating up for Tarleton.
Well, Barnes, he is a scorer. He comes from community college, scored 40 against Barton College at one point in his career, so he's looking to hoist that thing up, and that time it was pure.
Here's Beekman. The kick, Groves again. Second answer for the transfer
from Reece Beekman
from Oklahoma. Think about this. we saw it in that last sequence. You talked about the drive down low. You're seeing the new faces for Virginia, those that have transferred in to make their mark, rise to the occasion to end that run.
Certainly, and I think it's been all about knowing that you have to hone in on the moment. Things weren't looking too good for Virginia. Obviously, they have a large lead, but they have a big game on Friday against Florida, and so you don't want any type of drop-off more than what we already saw. So coming here again, Barnes leveling things up, keeps it for himself and just steps into it, and I think that could have even almost been a foul, but here comes another three on the other end of the floor. Groves able to have his feet set, pure knockdown. So it's been trading baskets from the three-point shots on both sides these last couple possessions.
Well, and could they be more different from one end of the floor to the other? We've seen just about every kind you can imagine, including a number of them the old-fashioned way. Virginia, having been good at the charity stripe for the most part tonight, will miss this. We're 14 of 20 before that miss by Beekman. And battling it inside is Bond the third. He'll take this away. Here's a transition chance for UVA. Harris will back it out.
Smart decision by Harris there, not to try to force anything, but get into UVA's set.
Working with the left-hand dribble, gets it to Beekman. He sees a wide open look, and another three goes down. This is Rhodey getting involved in the three-point party.
I mean, you couldn't be happier with the way that UVA has shot the basketball in this game. If my stats would update, it says they're 9 for 17 from deep, but I think they're 10 for 18. They're shooting 55.6% from beyond the arc, and it starts with teammates having their eyes up, ready to find the shooters.
Well, you're showing those math skills yourself. You're doing that in real time. You are correct. They are, in fact, 10 of 18.
If they would have made that one, I think I was going to throw the headset off and just walk out the gym. But this one, come on now.
Here comes another front of the rim. And trying to snatch that away on the rebound. And looking like he was a little, perhaps, shaken up in doing so was Ja'Cory Smith. He is whistled for the foul, and that'll add a little insult to what could potentially be some type of injury here. He's still doubled over in the lane.
I don't know if his arm got caught up in that area, or it looks like he's actually grasping his growing area, but now
Ja'Cory Smith now beginning to move toward that bench area, and he's going to continue, but that foul was whistled his direction. And again, we talked about him picking up his third a moment ago. So now you got Williams, who picked up 4, Ja'Cory Smith having picked up 4, 2 of the senior leaders and starters for Tarleton State, now both with 4 fouls, as Harris knocks down the front end of the 1-and-1. Well, a reminder tonight, and it's coming up in about 22 minutes or so, number 2 Duke hosting Dartmouth will wrap up the night with the Nothing But Net crew in Durham. What a way to tip off the season on the ACC network and the ESPN app. Most believe Duke to be the favorite, kind of going away to some degree with the pieces that they added, the last 2 recruiting classes that John Shire has put together there. Of course, this Virginia team and a host of others in the ACC. This Virginia team that shared a portion of that ACC championship as a co-regular season champ a year ago. We'll have something to say about that, as will teams all across the region. And here's the whistle out top. Will take us to our break. Virginia stays in command. They answered the second half push from Tarleton State and have responded very nicely in the second half with use of the 3-ball. ACC tournament titles under Coach Tony Bennett. Of course, the big title, that 19 national championship. So many of them come out of the ACC every year. Most believe, though, Ty, going into this season, at least the consensus of the prognosticators is that Duke is a clear number 1 this year.
I think so, too, though. Duke, they bring back their core, and then coming in on that preseason ACC Player of the Year is, of course, Kyle Filipowski, excuse me for that. And for Duke, they've been at the totem pole and continue to rise to the occasion. And for Miami, this is also a big thing for them too. This is the highest that they've been voted in the preseason poll as well in their program history, especially after coming off the run that they had a season ago. So it's going to be interesting in the ACC. And then we see coming down North Carolina and both Virginia, both got 1 first place vote and we'll kind of go from there in the ACC. So I think they got it right as far as that goes, and we'll see if things kind of shift or shake out any differently as the season goes on.
Yeah, kind of a crowded pack. Virginia, Clemson, Wake, State, Pitt, on down the line you go. But you mentioned those three. Miami coming off the Final Four appearance in Houston last year, something the Texas folks watching from out further west know a little bit about, and the results are there for Miami. I mean, what has been done of late by this Miami squad, who can question it? I mean, yes, they lost Wong and Miller, added Matthew Cleveland from FSU. Really hinges on Nigel Pack, one of the best in the ACC. What can happen there? And just a tremendous year. About the moment perhaps coming your way.
Wow.
Out of nowhere, look at this.
I mean,
brought them to their feet.
30 plus and still bring in the crowd that type of excitement. But that is why Leon Bond III, he opted to redshirt when he first came to UVA, and it has paid off. He was given the option to do so, and he felt it was going to be best for his growth and his success here at UVA. And he's been the key player off the bench when you talk about bringing the excitement, the pizzazz, the wow, but also just being disciplined within the offense. And he had a year under his belt due to redshirting to learn that offense, to see the style of play, and to also just be everywhere that he's supposed to be at the right time on the floor. Shot goes up, nobody puts a body on him, on your head nearly, and that gets the crowd excited in here once again. I mean, just amazing athleticism to go up for that putback dunk. I better see that on social media later.
He's a reminder, Ty, that we can have all the conversation we want about preseason expectations and what is going to be, but there is so much movement in this game now. It's a different landscape with the portal, how many pieces you can add, how quickly you can add them. Tony Bennett seeing his team rise to the occasion on this night with those new faces, like Bond III, who's just as pestering on the defensive end as he is on the other end of the floor.
This kid is good. I like him. I like what he's bringing to the table. You need a guy who is an X factor, and everything that he's done in this game says X factor, and I want to be a winner. Look at how he puts his long arms in that passing lane to gobble that one up, still sticks with the play, and is able to earn himself a trip to the free throw line off of just effort. And I think that is a great word to describe the play that he's given to UVA tonight, is effort.
Defense a catalyst for offense. The reward, he gets to walk to the other end of the floor for a scoring opportunity. The first one rattles out on Bond III, but he's going to try for a second here. Already, as we told you, in double figures in points, and he's got 9 rebounds to go along with that impressive takeaway you saw a moment ago. So he is on the verge of securing that double-double. Wasn't just a flash in the pan, that blue and white scrimmage. You're going to get the traveling call that's going to send it the other way. But I think that's what Virginia fans have to be pleased with what they've seen from him tonight. It wasn't just kind of a big moment in the scrimmage. He's doing this against somebody else's colors tonight, and he's doing it in the games that matter.
I think then he gets a standing ovation as he checks out right here. But it's all about knowing your role, too. He hasn't tried to do too much, go over the top, but the things that his team needs from him, which is get them those extra possessions, be at the right place at the right time to be able to get those exciting putback dunks. And it's a testament to how hard he worked while he was a redshirt to be able to come into this offense in the game as a whole just so seamlessly.
Now you can see what these players are able to do when they go up against ACC competition, like we were talking about against a moment ago, yes. But it is a reminder that with the new pieces you can add, with the young players that can come in and make a difference, it is maybe tougher than ever before to know exactly what to expect from one year to the next in a given league, certainly in the ACC, because there's so much movement.
For sure, and I think every single game counts. Obviously, once they go up against those bigger opponents, they say it'll be the true test, but I think an even bigger test is when you go up against a team that is lesser than you on paper, right? Because you have to continue to play at the level that you're expected to play at.
That's going to be a foul on Harris, and he picks up a second personal. Going to end up sending Barnes to the line. Well, what a week on ACC Network in terms of football. The Week 11 lineup for Saturday starts at noon. BC hosting Virginia Tech in Chestnut Hill. And then at Yankee Stadium, Pitt squaring off against Syracuse, capping the day with Duke. What a football story they've become this year. We're talking about their basketball program, multifaceted in Durham this year. They'll be taking on North Carolina in that Tobacco Road rivalry at 8, and all 3 games also available on the ESPN app. You can watch it anywhere. The floor with it for Virginia's Murray. Just over 5 minutes remaining, still a commanding lead for UVA. You know, we were talking ACC a little bit a moment ago, and you know, John Schauer, you mentioned Filipowski, who's back. Tyrese Proctor going to be a part of that. You throw Mark Mitchell in there, and the sophomore seasons that are expected from that group. Jeremy Roach, now the veteran. They added Caleb Foster, Jared McCain to a 27-9, 14-6 conference record a year ago. I mean, a very talented group there in Durham on the basketball side, right? In the Cameron side, we talk about football coming up this weekend. I know you keep an eye on the Tar Heels. Baycott back. They did lose Love to Arizona, but the freshman Elliot Cubdo expected to play a key role for Hubert Davis and company, and then you talked about Miami and so much they bring back. It's going to be an exciting year in the ACC.
I think the interesting thing about the ACC is the teams who are going to have to come into their own by finding their identity, because there are going to be so many new faces. I think Miami is really on paper the only one that has a few familiar faces. And then Duke, you know, they have a whole bunch of newcomers as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything sort of shakes out in the end and throughout the season. And great first showing for UVA and their new faces.
No doubt about it. Murray picks up the foul. That's his first. Going to end up sending Izzy Miles to the line. And he'll shoot a couple bonus in effect on that scenario. You know, Tony Bennett talked about being a new landscape of college basketball. He said everybody, whether they want to admit it or not, it's experimental for them right now. But he said, I love about college basketball that it's not cookie cutter. It's still about coaching decisions. You still get to choose what your program's going to be about. And you know what this program's been about, Ty. The pillars of this program have been clear under his leadership. And he talked about doubling down on them this year, something we've seen this team do through now a half plus of basketball.
Well, it goes back to our conversation that we had with Coach before the game, where I said, well, Coach, you guys aren't ranked in the preseason poll for the first time since the 17-18 season. And he was like, well, first of all, I didn't even really realize that.
Didn't know it.
Yeah, didn't even have an idea or a clue. And second, it just comes down to preseason stuff. Is just what it is. It's the preseason. It's about what you do when you get in between those lines, when that ball goes up and it actually starts. And so far, they've performed well. And I think with all the new guys that they've had, tonight exceeded expectations, especially from a scoring standpoint, able to put up 73 points on the board.
I have to love what he said. He said it gives you the opportunity to stay faithful and true to your values, something you'll no doubt see Virginia do moving forward. Nice little stop and pop bucket there. Tarleton State still fighting, and you see he's still got that fight in him. Tony Bennett coaching as if it's a one-possession game. To step up, kind of lead the way for this squad. Some candidates making their presence known tonight, Ty.
Well, it's definitely Isaac McKneely, and we have Leon Bond III. First with his terrific shooting. I can't get over it. 15 points in this game for him. You also have your other guys who are picking it, and Groves, and then here's that put back, the emphasis on the game, and Leon Bond III, who has 12 points, 9 rebounds. What I'm most impressed with, though, is the 5 offensive rebounds, because that means you're really putting it all out on the line and imposing those second chance opportunities for your squad.
Well, the talk was depth, that there was going to be plenty of it for Virginia. It was just a matter of defining roles. And obviously in the early part of this season, with the way the schedule lines up, Ty, Virginia will be trying to discover exactly what the best fit is going to be. But how about this quartet for UVA tonight and what they've done for Tony Bennett's club?
It's been great, and Tony Bennett has been able to get a lot of bodies on the floor. 10 guys have been in the lineup, and we've seen some different executions. Harris has been on the ball a little bit when Beekman is out of the game. We've seen Beekman play off the ball, mainly on it, but it just shows the versatility that UVA should be able to have throughout this season.
Gave a little bit of a window into that on media day, right? He said, we think we'll be able to perhaps play 9 or 10 along the way this year. That has certainly been what has happened in the opening stanza of this new campaign. chasing it down after it's tapped aside as Murray. And then the foul is going to be called on what Barnes thought he perhaps had as a clean steal. But everything comes to a halt on the whistle.
Good effort by Barnes on that play, and he's been hustling all up and down this court this evening, trying to get his hands in there on the passing lane. I love the fact that, again, down by a lot of points, effort still top tier.
Have to love, you said it, the effort and energy that has been provided by this Tarleton squad throughout the night. Well, talked about the schedule coming up for Virginia. Some notable dates for you to circle as you look ahead at what's coming up this year for UVA.
Well, coming in a few days on Friday here, they have Florida, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, first ACC game coming December 2nd. So they have over a month to prepare for that. But that ACC, SEC challenge, always highly anticipated. And then going forward, I think that big test against Florida is going to be the one right there. And this game is going to have to be the one, right? Set them up for that.
Going to be fun to get that underway. Also, a short trip down to Charlotte for what's going to be a full slate of games on Friday that Virginia will be a part of. So you're not waiting your way into the basketball season anymore.
No.
Now you just dive right in.
It's off and running. It's on and popping.
And it's a basketball fan's dream. You know, some seasons closing up and some just starting. And we can't let the whole night go by without saying congratulations. Our Texans are still celebrating to some degree the world championship that was won by the Texas Rangers.
Oh, for sure.
Out in the Metroplex last year on the baseball side of things. And there are connections. Coach Billy Gillespie wanted to make sure you knew he's a big Rangers fan growing up in that area. And there's a Virginia connection. How about Josh Spores, the former closer that locked down Virginia's College World Series championship in 15, securing the final out of the World Series for Bruce Bochy's Texas Rangers, to the delight of Texans everywhere a week ago. So connections between these programs that extend far beyond the basketball floor tonight.
Well, I love that because you just taught me something new just now with that. Come on with the baseball knowledge.
Here comes Dunn to the line. It speaks to the athletic impact of both of these programs, both of these regions of the country for sure. And they will walk away, will Virginia, it would seem, with a sizable victory on this night, trying to put the finishing touches on it here. As they do, what, Ty, are your takeaways from what you've seen from Virginia in this one?
Well, we talked about the depth just a couple of minutes ago. I think it's been on for them where they've been able to play a lot of different bodies. Now, they've had some droughts in this game, but what I loved is their response. Coach will call a timeout. They'll come back at it and been able to run their sets and get into it right. And I also, again, I keep raving about him, but Leon Bond III, he's by far been one of the most impactful players that has touched the floor, from his rebounding to the way that he's been able to score the basketball. And again, still talking on that bench, a lot of personality and I think upside for that kid.
Well, another trip to the line here as Dunn will knock down another free throw. Virginia from the line tonight.
34 attempts.
Connecting on their 20th in those 34 attempts. And, you know, you track this stat, we kind of referenced it in the first half, but they have connected on 20 free throws. They have allowed Tarleton State just 19 of them tonight.
I mean, it's a coach's dream to get to the free throw line 35 times in the first place. But I think that's an area where they're going to have to continue to work on this week in practice, especially going into their game against Florida. Only shot 60% from the stripe, excuse me. So if we had to pick out a flaw, it would be that free throw shooting. If they can continue to improve on that moving forward, that would be huge. They
greet the Virginia Beach native, Tristan Howell, who comes in to the contest in the latter stages, and also a nice hand on the departure of some of the key contributors tonight. Dunn takes a seat over there. Murray will pick up a foul, just his second, with just 2 and change remaining. Virginia having posted 77 and holding Tarleton State, at least to this point, under 50. Izzy Miles can see to it that they cross that threshold, and he will. Miles now in double figures with 10. Miles and Barnes, at least for now, are the two that are going to end in double figures for the Texans.
And the Texans, I think they take the positives away from the second half that they were able to have. They were able to keep up with Virginia as far as trying to keep the scoring even goes and limit it. As far as the score goes, it doesn't really reflect or look at that, but Tarleton State was able to put up better numbers in the second half from a scoring standpoint.
Well, on what has been as a touch foul out top will be charged Miles, and that's his 4th personal. He becomes the 5th player on the Tarleton State side of things to pick up a 4th personal, but nobody having picked up the dreaded 5th just yet. Harris to the line. It's been somewhat of a welcome to the family night for fans here inside JPJ. They're getting to know so many of the new players, the freshmen, the transfers. There is a lot to hop in the car tonight and head back to whatever destination you're seeking to be very pleased with for Virginia fans.
I think Wahoo fans have a lot to look forward to as the season continues to progress, and we'll see more breakout games and performances, I believe, from up and down the stat sheet. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a new guy every night who is able to put up substantial numbers.
And if you want to start a new season, kind of erase the memory, and every team except for one at the beginning of a new year has to do that, of what was and build upon what has been, this is the type of night you're looking for if you're the Hoos. Chance for some key late moments, in fact, at just over a moment remaining as Harris handles it up top. And calling for the basketball is Howe, and he just misses as he connects with the iron. Harris thought about stepping into it. As we go inside a minute, here's Howe, tried to lay it backward, won't go down. Fans are in behind him, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great look by Dante Harris, right? You find Howe on the cut, just a little off balance on that shot, wasn't able to turn around all the way for the reverse layup to see it through.
Howe and Murray, who come back after combining for just over 100 minutes alongside all the transfers we talked so much about. You know, you got the freshman Buchanan we've seen, Gertrude and Robinson, they're high on just the 6 new scholarship players, but to everybody at some point, you know, will be a contributor for this Virginia squad. And there it is. The first to depart is Miles as he picks up his 5th, and Gaddy comes in to replace him.
Well, it was a positive rookie debut for Miles here, finishing with 10 points, 4 for 8 from the field. Have to take that positive away from him. And then just 3 turnovers against this pesky UVA defense. So as a freshman, and this is your first big game going up against an ACC opponent, I would say it's a job well done. Although he fouled out, he really did hold it down.
Yeah, left it all out there with those 10 points, as you said. He and Barnes, the 2 in double figures for Virginia. It's Beekman leading the way, as you might expect, 16. He and McNeely kind of traded the pace spot all night long. McNeely with 15, and Bond the third, whose praises we've been singing in this second half as well. 12 points tonight alongside those 9 rebounds. That trio really stepping up for UVA from a point standpoint. Here's another 3, and that rims out. And the freshman Buchanan brings it down.
That will do it.
They come to their feet inside John Paul Jones Arena, pleased with the opening chapter of a new season. 80 placed on the board for Virginia, and an even 30. The separation as 2 of the storied head coaches in the game of college basketball meet to shake hands one more time. This college basketball game, this season opener, it goes to Virginia.
In Virginia, they played